This is Hardin, who had spent his night inside his car and wakes up in front of a train station and begins to pee, where a homeless guy comes and asks him for money. But his anger gets the best of him and he shouts at the guy to walk away from there. On the other hand, a girl named Tessa can be seen going to attend the first day of her job, where she meets a guy who works in the same company. Upon arrival, the manager decides to not introduce her to the boss, since he was looking very angry. Tessa is given her office, where she does so much work that she ends up sleeping throughout the night and wakes up at 9:50 in the morning. Her boss was sitting in her office upon her waking up and asks her to come inside a car along with his colleague. Their boss reveals they were all going to a digital conference, where he will have to secure the funding for expansion. Hardin arrives to a mysterious woman, where he gets ready to get a tattoo on his arm, while the boss arrives at a hotel, where he tells her manager to take Tessa shopping, and we see the scene is moved into a hotel room, where the manager reveals that she is not just an assistant for the boss, but his lover as well. After Vance's wife died, she was the one who took care of his son time to time, and things started to unfold between them. Tessa also gets to know that Hardin suggested her in this company. While Hardin's tattoo was slowly healing, he gets a text from his friends, who suggest him to hang out with them the same night. Tessa comes down with a charming and attractive dress and wins everyone's hearts. Inside the nightclub, Trevor was talking to Tessa, revealing he hated nightclubs. A man inside the club meets them to offer them a huge drink and they end up drinking it together. While the boss was dancing with Kimberly, Tessa started to feel the drink and moved out for a dance. Hardin was still upset, and his friends were trying their best to cheer him up to get over the breakup. Tessa started to dance and kiss with a random guy with passion, while imagining the guy was Hardin. Meanwhile, Molly tries to kiss Hardin, but he threw her away and moved out of the place, where she began to shout at him. Tessa calls Hardin and reveals how drunk she is, but hangs up when Hardin mentions how he texted her many times after their breakup, but she did not reply to any of them. Hardin also mentions he had her location before the call ends. Trevor walks up to Tessa, where Tessa asks him for room service, french fries, and ice cream. After talking a little about themselves, Trevor accidentally spills some wine on himself because of Tessa. While Hardin has traced her location, Tessa was trying to help him get rid of the stains on his pants. Hardin is on the door knocking and sees Trevor's glasses, and hit the door open. He was shocked to see him inside the washroom, and both of them go inside a room to argue with each other. Tessa comes up with two choices for Hardin. Either he has romantic moments with her, or he leaves. Suddenly, Hardin chooses the obvious option and they begin to have some romantic moments. It is the next morning. We can see Tessa and Hardin sleeping. She almost forgot that she works for Vance now. She suddenly leaves for work after getting a call from Kimberly. Hardin wanted her to come back to bed, but she is late. He comes over and started to argue about last night, where Tessa told him that last night was a mistake, but Hardin wanted to talk about it. She accidentally lets slip that she kissed a guy at a club, which drives Hardin crazy. When she tries to ignore the topic and run away, Hardin tells her that he also spent a night with Molly, while she kissed the guy to tease her, which makes her throw food at Hardin and leave. Tessa comes down and meets Trevor and apologizes to him for last night. He tells her that he knew Hardin too, since he worked at Vance Publishing last year. We can see Hardin at his stepbrother's house, asking for a suggestion. Hardin reveals everything that happened till now, and leaves in sheer anger. Landon later texts Tessa to explain that Hardin did not sleep with Molly, and she sees his picture and gets back to work. Trevor comes in her office and explains how he made it possible for her to buy an affordable car, and insurance will be covered by the company as well, which makes her really happy, and she ends up giving Trevor a kiss, which makes him nervous. Landon, who is also Tessa's friend, reads her birthday horoscope, where it was mentioned she might get involved with a mature partner, which did not sound like Landon at all. She also blocked Hardin from social media, and he also left for London to meet her mother. Tessa comes back into their old house they used to live in to take back her belongings, but instead she finds a gift from Hardin, which is a Kindle tablet including all her favorite books. She was about to leave, but sees Hardin come in along with a woman and talking about a bath, so she angrily shows herself only to find out it is Hardin's mother. Hardin did not leave for London because he did not want to go without her. He also did not mention their breakup to his mother, hence the reason she was behaving as if Tessa was Hardin's girlfriend. She makes her stay at their house for one night before she will leave the next day to meet her own mother. After a while, we can see them in their old bed. She tells him that she will leave the next morning and she also bought a car. Meanwhile, she liked Hardin running his hands around her. They started to kiss each other back and forth as if she could not resist it. One thing led to another and they were enjoying each other's presence and appreciating it. Tessa later reaches her mother's house, where she meets her ex-boyfriend. He mentions something about her dad, and gets to know that her mother did not let her father meet her due to some reason, and gets really mad, resulting in her leaving the place. She later comes back to Hardin and hugs him. In the middle of the night, Hardin started to dream of a nightmare from when he was a little child, where Tessa comforts him. Tessa wakes up in the morning and finds Hardin's mother, where she reveals about Hardin's nightmares that have been happening since he was 8 years old. She wanted his nightmares to go away. Hardin even tried a lot of medications, but nothing worked out, except when she met him and the nightmares went away. Later, Hardin decided to give her a gift again, since she opened the previous one in his absence. This gift is going to be a perfect day for Tessa. Hardin will do anything that Tessa says to him. We can see them ice skating, where it is hard for Hardin to do, and it seems like it's his first time. Next, we can see Hardin having yoga classes with Tessa and having a lot of fun while it lasts. They leave the yoga classes and go to take a shower, where she gets Kimberly's call. They finally reach the office, where Kimberly was so busy that she makes Hardin and Tessa take care of Vance's son. Later, while sitting with Hardin, he picks up some curse words from him, but Hardin somehow handles the situation and does not let Tessa hear it. It was finally over and the little boy leaves along with Kimberly. Meanwhile, Tessa and Hardin were all alone inside their office and ready to have romantic moments and say they love each other a lot. We are moved to the next scene, where Hardin's father invites her mother along with Tessa to meet them. They finally reach the big mansion of his father's. While in conversation, Hardin reveals how he was going to move back to London, which upsets her a bit. Right after this, he starts a fight with his father, which was about his father leaving his mother and Hardin 10 years ago. Things heat up and Hardin ends up hitting his father brutally. Hardin's mother also gets angry at him for putting off this act. She leaves after revealing how this act can destroy her and Hardin's career. They go back to their house, where Hardin was pissed off at everything and proceeds to drink a lot. We can see him listening to music, and Tessa comes back and calls his name, but she did not notice him wearing earphones and sneaks out of there. Later, we can see Tessa talking to Trevor, where he asks her to have lunch with him. She talks about Hardin and his issues, but since she loves Hardin, he thinks it's a problem. He also reveals about him going to Seattle, since his boss gave him a higher position there. Hardin later calls his father and says sorry to him, where Tessa also comes back to him, and seeing him fix everything makes her smile. Later on, both decide to go to a party together, and Hardin even gives her a kiss for it. Her boss calls her and gives her a big promotion for her outstanding performance in the office. Even Hardin was welcome to join her if he wanted to. She needed some time to think about it and does not tell Hardin. They finally reach the party. There, she starts to drink and play a ball game. Tessa was drinking back to back while playing the game, which was making Hardin nervous. Hardin takes someone upstairs to talk to her. Later on, he comes back and tries to take a drunk Tessa back home, but she wanted to drink a little more. Molly and Tessa stood in front of each other. They play a truth or dare game with each other, which did not go too well, and they end up fighting each other brutally. Tessa is taken back to a bedroom, where they start to have a romantic moment and finalize this moment upon the exact time the new year happens. While Tessa is in the washroom, Hardin sees a text that she was going to Seattle. Upon coming down the stairs, she also sees Hardin telling a girl to keep a secret. Things heat up pretty quickly and they end up fighting brutally and they both part their own ways. The next morning, she wakes up and does not find Hardin up there. Upon checking her phone, she finds drafts of texts of her apologizing to Hardin last night. While Hardin was getting his phone charged in a friend's car, he decides to call her up after seeing her texts. Tessa looks for her phone and gets distracted because of Hardin's call, where she ends up in an accident. On his way, he sees Tessa and runs after her, and we are moved to another scene where Hardin has called many hospitals to know Tessa's location, but none of them had Tessa present. He finally calls Tessa's cell, where Trevor picks up the call and tells him to never see her again without letting her know that he called, to which Hardin walks away. Later, when Tessa arrives back at their home, she sees a letter in which he has mentioned he was going far away from her, to London, which was for her own good. However, Tessa was desperate about talking to Hardin and even sends him a text. Hardin started getting nightmares about Tessa. One day, his mother suggests him to fight for the things he loves and walks away. It was the celebration day for Vance Publishing Company. He proposes Kimberly for marriage using his son. Trevor also reveals how he answered her cell phone and told Hardin something the time she was in the hospital. He wanted to tell something else to her as well, but he walks away for a good minute. Suddenly, Tessa sees Hardin standing in front of her eyes and she leaves nervously. Hardin goes after her to find out she just left in a car. But it was not her leaving in the car. Tessa was standing beside Hardin and speaks up to let Hardin know of her presence. She walks nearby to a cab and signals Hardin to sit in it alongside her. Soon, we see them getting along with each other. One day, some homeless man tries to meet Tessa, where she realizes that it is her father. Make sure to subscribe and like to watch the next sequel to this movie.